Alright. Hello and welcome back. We're going to continue off where we left off with World ENECONOMiCA, episode 1. Alright, it has been a little while since the last episode, so how about we get this back started and continue on our little adventure on the moon here, and we'll see what continued this happen. Alright. After dark, I continued to watch the news and read up on stocks, puzzling over my avenue of attack for tomorrow, and when there was a knock on my door, I figured it must be Lisa, since she'd actually do the proper thing, as expected. Her voice came through the door. "Are you asleep?" "I'm not a grade schooler, you know." "Well, aren't you kind of like one?" "Oh, she is messing with you, man." "Well, I'd probably look that way from the point of view of an auntie like you." "What? Huh?" "So, what's up?" I got a surprising amount of reaction. I figured I'd manage to pay her back for all the time she treated me like a kid. For the most part, what I can tell, you still are a kid for the over. Lisa was about to say something, but muttered it to herself and stated her business. "Got time to come up here?" "What?" Lisa answered me after looking over at the living room. "At least while Hagana's in the bath." "Well, okay. I guess. Wait a sec." I closed my computer, putting it to password lock sleep mode, and headed into the hallway. Wonder what she wants to talk about. Here, you are surprisingly methodical. A man needs his share of secrets to survive. Right. Lisa walked out, and I followed her. Using the unreliable light from the diode lamp to guide our way, we headed up the steep stairs. The courtyard I saw during the day was lit by light pouring out of Lisa's room. Lisa invited me into her room. "Oh, you're going in Lisa's room. I wonder what it looks like. I don't think we've been in there. I wonder if it's going to show us." What left me speechless wasn't that her room was all pink and girly. In fact, if that were the case, I would have just laughed my head off before I'd feel any surprise. Lisa's room was a simple room, perhaps a little more crowded than mine, and it came with a bed and a desk. There was a good reason for the cramped feeling, though. There were real books lined up against one of the walls. Are these the real thing? He must usually just read, digital works on his computer. Actually handling a real book must be rare for him. That's become more common now. Personally, depending on the book, if it's information-based, I don't mind reading it digital on the computer, or a tablet, or my phone or anything. But when it comes to actually reading for entertainment purposes, I prefer an actual physical product. I don't know why. It just feels better that way. I like to have that physical product in my hand. That's right. They'd fetch a hefty price, too. Lisa pulled out a chair for me, and then she opened a drawer and took out a small bottle. "Ah. Can you drink, Hall?" For a second, I couldn't figure out who this Hall was until I quickly realized it was me. Perhaps it caught me by surprise, but it felt kind of odd and tingly. "You mean alcohol? Or perhaps you've never had any?" I'm not some loser. Just because you haven't had alcohol doesn't mean you're a loser, man. Some people just don't drink. And I was truly a loser when I proclaimed that. Lisa was really good at making people dance on her palm. Or perhaps I really was a kid after all. "Well, gotta try it to really know it." He then poured some into a cheap-looking silvery cup and handed it to me. It was an amber liquid, and the whiff I had of it was quite smoky. "Don't drink it all in one gulp." I thought I was being treated like a kid again, and was about to drink it all down to show her, but she managed to slip some words in before that happened. "I'd like you to savor the flavor." This woman was truly underhanded. With a sulking face, I gave it a taste, and was on the verge of coughing. It must have been too much for him. Well, what did you want to talk about? Or did you just want to booze me up? Booze you up and then knock you out and then do things to you? That's what you wanted? No, she wouldn't do that. Well, it's not really that. There was something else I wanted to talk about today. Today? Yep, when Mr. Toyama came today, what really happened? Lisa swished the cup in front of her and stared down at it. As I dawdled, Lisa looked back up and continued. Haganas really can't keep a poker face about things, and, well, you're kind of the same. Quiet. But I'm really happy that you covered for her. I guess shaking hands isn't really needed to make up. Given the smile on Lisa's face as she said this, I could only begrudgingly accept that I was also happy about it. However, I couldn't just candidly say yes to her, knowing full well that I was being childish again. I lowered my voice as much as possible to give my reply. Not even I'm that petty-minded. Yep, I also believe that you weren't. Lisa sipped some liquor and swallowed it down gently. When I had drunk some, I felt like someone had shoved a smokestack in my mouth, but the way Lisa drank it was very fitting. This made Lisa irrefutable look like an adult and me look like a child. However, I didn't think Lisa was doing that to look like an adult or anything. Rather, it appeared she may have been using it to loosen her lips. So, what happened? I don't know the details, since I came in halfway. Okay. But, oh, I can imagine what happened. When I returned, there was a big commotion. The old gear was livid, throwing sofas and stuff around on a rampage, and, well, that girl was like her usual self. Agana? Agana was like her usual self, totally angry and belligerent, while at the same time trembling. Sheesh. So, then what happened? And then, I instantly thought it was some burglar. Smacked him down, restrained him, and shut him up. And while I was listening to the accounts of what happened, I realized that this little guy was probably not at fault. Released him and then paid off the interest. That's all. Lisa was staring at the cup for a second, took another drink, as if to drink away a sigh, then asked me, "So, what about the lilies?" Lilies? Oh. That girl, Hagana told me that there had to be 7, so I got some for her. Wait, how do you know that? Of course I'd know that. Where do you think the laundry gets hung out to dry? Lisa rolled her eyes while asking me that. Oh, yeah, I guess they're by the garden with the flower bed on the 3rd level. Furthermore, the ones in the vase were something given to me, and the ones in the flower bed were ones I grew. I was really depressed that 2 of them had been uprooted. But when I came back to the living room and saw that dirt-laden roots in the garbage, and the smushed lilies thrown in with them together, well, let's say you don't have to be an Einstein to figure out kind of what happened. Brilliant deduction. But could I ask something? What? Why would Hagana want to hide this incident from you? It's not like it was the first time Hagana had looked down on people and pissed them off. Besides, this Mr. Toyama, or what's-his-face, didn't appear to be some elite guest whom you shouldn't upset at any cost. However, Hagana did everything she could to hide the incident. Or perhaps she was overly concerned about the thing with the lilies and tried to hide everything. While I was pondering such things, Lisa slowly wet her lips with the liquor. She thinks the debt was her fault. Oh. I wonder what the debt was for. I mean, we don't know what the debt actually is for, we just know there's a debt. So, apparently, Hagana thinks it was her fault that the debt occurred, so Hagana's been here a while since that debt, then. Or it must have came before that death occurred. And something happened or something. And I wonder what that story behind it is. Well, the fog lifted on something rather unexpected. Well, I guess I was originally at fault. I had lost a book I borrowed from the university. I guess it did look like something that belonged in a trash heap, so perhaps that child threw it away. However, even I wasn't totally sure. Besides, I was kind of sloppy with it as well. So of course I couldn't really blame her if it were the case. But she was really set in her beliefs and was really obsessed with that incident. I see. But, well, you managed to square it away using some money, right? If you put it that way, it saves me a lot of talking, but it wasn't just a small amount of money, and since we were poor, we had to borrow the money to pay the fine. Damn, how much was that book worth? Holy shit. It's a freaking book. Well, she did say these books that she has behind her and on her bookshelf were worth a decent amount. It sounds like, so physical books must be rare. The banks wouldn't even give us the light of day, so the only people who'd lend us money were locals like Mr. Toyama. He's a good guy. He didn't even ask for collateral when lending us the money. Was he an idiot? The interest was pretty low, too. What? The interest wasn't that low. Don't be an idiot. It was quite low. Deposit interest rates at the bank start at around 3%, right? Just storing it at the bank earned you 3% interest, so lending money to some penniless person at 6% with no collateral must have been a sure sign of madness. I didn't know. Aren't you an adult? Maybe she's just not good with finances and economics. Some people really aren't. When you're presented with all those numbers and percentages and all this other stuff, it can get overbearing, and then you just forget, even though you probably could, if you actually sat down, you probably could figure it out. Just being thrown all those numbers at you in all these words and things like this can get quite just totally over your head, and you just give up and just like, shit, I don't know what the hell this is. I don't even want to figure it out, even though it might not actually be that hard. Lisa smiled bitterly as my extravagant explanation and just shrugged. So, Hagana also knew that the guy was an idiot, but how does that turn into a reason to hide the scuffle from you? Dots aren't connecting for me. Lisa chuckled faintly at my words. For a second there, I thought she was trying to dodge the question, so I started to talk again. However, I realized that wasn't the case and clamped my mouth shut. Lisa's smile was quite sad. This was the first time I realized that people can laugh with such a sad face. Basically, it's a fake laugh. She's just trying to lighten the mood in a way, or... It's not like a laugh that's funny, but a laugh I guess, I don't know how to explain it. I get what's that kind of laugh is trying to imply. I really think I can trust you, Hall. Huh? What's with all of a sudden? I'm not trying to flatter you. You can somewhat figure out what people are really like inside after seeing their various aspects. And you don't act all mean and stuff, but you are really a good kid instead. He does have a good side. He definitely does try to act a lot tougher and everything than he really is. He does give off this vibe that he thinks he's all that. He really isn't. I couldn't get any angry at Lisa's serious face, even while I was thinking the whole time that she was making fun of me. I don't think she's making fun of you, man. And that's why I'm going to tell you, got it? Lisa clung onto the silver-colored cup in her hand as if her life depended on it. Shit, man. This seems like a pretty serious conversation she wanted to talk about. I once got really angry at her for that before. That? Got angry at her for Hagana intentionally trying to piss off Mr. Toyama. I guess that really was the case. Yep, she would try her best to anger him when I wasn't looking. And furthermore, as you've said, she was actually afraid. I recounted my memory of Hagana definitely yelling angrily with her body flush against the wall, the corners of her eyes totally red and her hands trembling. You know the reason for that? Nope. Yeah, what the hell? She must have a reason for reacting that way. Some incident in her life must have happened for her to get a reaction like that. Well, even I didn't know at first. However, when I yelled at her the first time for it, she said this. She said, even if you had no money to pay it back, everything would be solved if you just shipped me off, right? What? I don't understand. I guess normally you wouldn't know what that was all about. However, I immediately realized what she meant. When I was back on Earth, such stories were a dime a dozen. Her reply came as she stared blankly and deeply into her cup. I was assaulted by the premonition of something even worse than I could totally hate. Something worse than dog crap. I don't understand where they're going. I'm lost here. She wouldn't tell me her personal story, so this is all just conjecture. But I came to the conviction that she was bought with money. Oh shit. So someone bought her? Alright, now it's starting to connect. I wasn't connecting that. Telling her that she was shipped off. Shit, man. You can't be. Before I could finish my sentence, the root of my tongue had frozen completely solid. Many of the folks from my village came from the darkest corners of the earth. There were a lot of cheerful dudes, but I had the feeling they were trying to make up for something. They said there were places on Earth that people from more affluent countries would overlook, even if such places were in said countries. The lunar metropolis was a powerful contraption to extract money from Earth. It was a tool to make money using various methods, so it wouldn't be strange if there existed things like the ones they've talked about. Well, I mean, theoretically slavery does still exist, you could say. Well, I don't know if you would really call her being bought slavery per se, but in a way it is, because it, ownership type of thing. When you buy something, you expect to actually own it, or something in that fashion. So. But the reason she got bought, why did she get bought? I hope it wasn't some like sex slave type of thing. Could be a multitude of things. She could have been bought to do certain things. In fact, it would be odd if there weren't. So, adopting a talented child wouldn't be a rare occurrence, right? Even if the adopter didn't feel that way. It had quite possible for the adopted to feel that he or she has been bought. Oh, okay, so that I didn't think about that as well. Adoption, I mean, it does... Alright, so adopted. So maybe it wasn't as bad of an occurrence, but she doesn't feel it was really that great. Alright. Of course, there are such tragedies when children are being bought and sold. Lisa's tone didn't sound like she was just rambling about the matter. While I considered Lisa quite an annoying woman, I also felt she was someone whose feet were firmly planted on the ground. Lisa probably investigated the matter herself. Agata's math talents are truly marvelous. After all, she got full marks on the entrance exam for Lunar City University. She'd definitely be able to get a scholarship to the point of having even clothes, food, and lodging being covered by the university. Agata had to be looking toward that, but she'd definitely not say a word of it. Guess what she's been the most interested in right now? Oh, silence. Making money. A bad taste spread through my mouth. Even if I wanted to have my own beliefs about a person while not knowing anything about that person, having the truth laid bare before me would only naturally incur this reaction. I think she takes it out on others because of all the pain she endured. If she put all her strength into enduring her pain, she wouldn't be able to control herself. But a debt is just a debt, and it's not like you couldn't pay it back, right? It's not like that girl's need to sell herself. Shit, man, I hope she's not doing that shit. I mean, you know, I have nothing against the legalization of prostitution and things like that. I mean, if you want to sell your body for someone and people are willing to pay, but you shouldn't do it, I think, as because you feel that, like, pressured into trying to do it, or forced type of occurrence. It should be like a free will type of thing, like, I want to do this because I enjoy sex or some shit like that. Not being able to understand exactly what it meant to sell oneself. I could have a whole multitude of things. Sell yourself as a sexual thing, sell yourself as a labor-based thing, I mean, or a mental-based thing. I guess, you know, someone could want you for your brain, have you doing mental work, or a multitude of things. But usually when I think of that, I think of, yeah. But Hagana was apparently quite talented, and she didn't look bad either. When push comes to shove, that method of selling would work. That's right. That's what I wanted to say, but... Lisa heaved a big sigh and continued drinking. After gulping down one, she roughly poured herself some more. I'll pay it back. Actually, even right now. Well, what? I looked at Lisa in amazement. Then I followed up my explanation. You're gonna sell yourself? Oh, I think you pissed her off there. I think you got confused right there. Lisa spilled out her liquor and started coughing. Oh, gross. Sheesh, don't say such bizarre things. Well, that's kind of how the conversation flowed. Man, well, it probably wasn't too far off the mark. Huh? I do have things to sell. However, they're pretty much a part of me, so I was hesitant at selling them. Lisa looked up, staring off into space, like some precocious child observing the stars for the first time. However, what she was staring at wasn't the far-off nebula, but rather something closer. The bookshelves. After I noticed what she was looking at, she sighed and continued. It's like you're running away from not wanting to work. I've been trying to avoid the problem. If I sold a few of the books lining these shelves, I'd be able to pay back the loan. Are they really that awesome? As time passes, the amount of books can't increase. They can only decrease, and in that sense, they are precious. A part of the font of human knowledge rests upon these books, and so in that sense, they are awesome. But stop copying me. But it's not like life would be harder without them. So, in that sense, they aren't that great. But some of them would feel like ripping out a part of my own body. I still have no clue what you're spouting. Besides, if you sold them, couldn't you just buy them again later? Well, I would imagine that they would get more expensive. I mean, if the way she's talking, they would get more rare, and the value would increase. My problems would be a lot simpler if that were the case. You can't buy them again? Books like these aren't ones you'll find anywhere, and they're not books that everyone's going to want. Thus, people who want them are fanatic about them, and once they get their hands on them, it's very rare they want to get rid of them. And that is a good idea. I mean, I have a lot of things in my collection of video games and other things like that a few of the items in it I really wouldn't want to get rid of unless I really, like, needed to. Even on Earth, only a few books of these type exchange hands per year. Probably. Therefore, if I put these up for sale, I'd definitely find a buyer, but there's a very good chance I'd never get them back again. And it's not like I'm waiting for them to appreciate and value to sell them. They're more like friends and comrades to me, if you get my meaning. I felt something from the glimpses Lisa threw at me. Putting comrades up for sale would definitely yield buyers, but once your comrades are sold, you'll never get them back. And that's why I've been dragging my feet. If I found an adult dragging their feet on doing something they should be doing, I'd totally want to kick their butt and spit on them. However, split on them? Split on them? Kick their butt and split on them. Okay, I think I said spit on them. However, even with these beliefs, I couldn't bring myself into thinking that in front of Lisa. I could see that Lisa really loved those books, like real people who were friends and comrades. The sight of her standing in front of the bookcase, leaning on the bed and speaking absentmindedly, gave the impression of a girl at her wit's end. And that wasn't something shameful. If this was something that would drive even Lisa to her wit's end, then it must be truly something formidable. And that must be, without a doubt, her love for books. Well, I guess you'd just have to pay it back bit by bit. Well, you are right, that's the case, but... As if to proclaim her return to reality, she let on an adult yet bitter smile and polished off the rest of the liquor in her cup easily. And you're the same, aren't you? In 20 days, I'll have you find some way to make money. In 20 days, huh? Revealing no sign about my stock trading, I replied sulkily. Well, as you can see, I'm really in no position to lecture you, however. I do have one thing to say. Yeah? That's stuff about Hagana. Oh, yeah? I have a wish to ask of you. Oh, you have a request of us? A wish? You want something of us. Alright. What do you want? What, like, could you please get along with her because of her sad predicament? Lisa kept mimicking me so much that I decided to mimic her in return. I thought she'd get mad, but getting such moral education stuff pushed on me and made me kind of mad too, so we were even. This was the moon after all. Why would you consider loading yourself with baggage if you're going to be flying up? You got it. However, Lisa didn't get angry. Instead, she poured herself some more liquor and wet her lips with it. Actually, it's a little different from wanting you to get along with her. It's possible for people to have disagreements, right? I think Hagana and I are like that. That's probably the case. However, when Hagana's glaring down at you, you stop instantly doing things in response to intentionally upset her, right? You got a point there. That's good enough. What I want you to do is to acknowledge her. Acknowledge? Yep. People's existence are such ethereal things. Wasn't that thing from old Fae legends? That the Fae can continue to exist as long as people believed in their existence? Once people forgot about them, then they couldn't continue to exist. Haven't you heard about something similar to that? Well, I've heard the whole entire concept of, when you perceive something as existing, it exists. Like, everything we see around us only exists because we have made it such. Unfortunately, no. There were tales like that, and it's not just limited to Fae. Anyone would be happy if they got complimented, and having someone worry about you allows you to believe that you are a meaningful existence to them. People can't think of themselves as being human if they are all alone. No way. It's true. There's been examples on Earth where someone who grew up with dogs would only think of themselves as dogs. To acknowledge someone is to give a proper response to them, even if that were to be one of disgust. Lisa took a breath and stared at me. It became a bit harder for me to breathe. Lisa had always been caring to me. Deciding to answer her pointless question was in part because she respected me. I don't mind if you guys have arguments, and I don't think you guys are such opposites either. What? Yeah, Oh? Well, and the one thing I would ask of you the most is... Lisa cut off my words, stood up from the bed, and held my hands. don't ignore her. She has lost all faith in her self-worth. It can't be healthy for someone to think that selling herself was the way to pay back a debt. I want to say that everyone is equal before the Lord, but before that, I want her to never forget that she is a human being and not just some item. I know that it's the moon, and that the trend here is that anything that can't be turned into money is worthless. But those last words squared my heart. And I'm sure Lisa saw through my expression of pain at that moment. Lisa looked at me and chuckled lightly. I tried to hide my embarrassment and thought about lashing back in anger, but it didn't happen. Since at that moment, Lisa embraced me softly. Aww. Paul, you have a good sense of self, and that was definitely because of your parents. Yeah, right, my parents? The way they thought were probably totally different, but I believe they must have said things to you to the point where you got sick of it. I couldn't object because she got it precisely. After all, I left the village because my freaking parents' unmovable convictions made me want to puke. However, that is in itself the marvelous mark of love, since if they didn't care about you, they wouldn't do that. And if you didn't have those freaking annoying parents, it would have been very hard to collect your thoughts, right? I made a clearly bitter face at being mimicked again, and Lisa chuckled after noticing it indirectly. Lisa's breathing lightly brushed my right ear, and it was a ticklish sensation that made me sleepy. I shelter those who run away from home with no place to go because I believe they need someone to acknowledge them. In any case, the moon is a busy place, a bustling and stimulating place, like you said, so most people have no time to care about others, right? But I received the Lord's teachings, so I feel like I'd be able to do something like that. Lisa stepped back and picked up the cup I was holding with the liquor in it. What do you think? She posed me the question at the end. I totally salute someone who had been able to refuse at this point. However, much of my chagrin, I didn't understand what Lisa was trying to get across. I didn't want to admit that those annoying parents loved me, even if I were on my deathbed, but I feel like I was able to figure out what I needed to succeed on the mood because of them. It was kind of like teaching me what not to do. And besides, even if their way of thinking was different, it was true that what I learned from those guys in the village helped me many a time. Concern one's value as a human. The story still felt fishy to me, but at least it seemed that Hagana hadn't been leading such a happy life. Plus, at least being a bit kinder to her wasn't all that bad. Besides, whether I argued with her or whatever, as long as I didn't ignore her, it would be fine. I looked back at Lisa and replied wonderingly, woodenly? How do you reply to someone woodenly? I've never heard someone use that. I get it. And at that moment, Lisa beamed a warm smile. Thank you. Well, let's keep what we talked about a secret, okay? And alcohol seems to be a bit too early for you, so don't drink it while I'm not here, okay? Instead of complaining about her nagging, I restored to spitting out my breath as if I were clicking my tongue. I realized it was something childish that would get laughed at by Lisa, but I had no choice. Well, I was kind of disappointed after she said thanks to me, and it would have been bad if she found out what I was thinking. I truly thought that she'd hug me again. You secretly want it? Do you want her to hug you again? I think this guy wants some, Crap. Stop it. I'm being an idiot. Good night. Her words as she closed the door stuck with me for some time. Okay, I think that is actually a good place to just, stop off here. Alright, well, we had a pretty serious conversation there with Lisa. I wasn't expecting how serious that was, but, whew, it was a pretty lengthy conversation, and we got our first drink, too. We learned a little bit more about Hagana as well. Apparently she hasn't had the best life, but she seems like an intelligent girl, but she definitely has some issues that she doesn't think of herself well. That, like, things are, like, some stuff in her life is her fault and all that other stuff. And she's not worth anything, it seems like. I think she needs a friend, someone that can rely, that she can rely on and can rely on her. I think that's what she's missing. She needs a friend in her life. Someone that she can talk to and rely on. It does seem like that she hasn't had very many or something. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching this. If you enjoy the video, feel free to leave a comment or a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you want to stay up to date on this and plenty of other videos, feel free to subscribe. In the description box, I'll have a link to the game, as well as a link to where you can check out more of my stuff. I want to thank you guys again for watching this, and you all have a great day.